We're back on YouTube today to celebrate the official one-year anniversary of the St. Louis Cardinals acquiring Nolan Arenado. The deal was made official 1 year ago today. What a year it was, and it's still hard to believe the steal that the Cardinals got in acquiring one of the game's best. Breaking it all down more today, in addition to what we did yesterday on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Cardinals for Tuesday, February the 1st of 2022. I am Lucas Smith, host of the show. Thanks for tuning in today and each and every day that you tune in, and happy 1 year anniversary of the Nolan Arenado trade. Officially, at this time, on this day last year, it was announced. Baseball Reference has this day. It was officially announced again, as I mentioned, on this day a year ago, the Cardinals acquiring one of the game's best in Nolan Arenado. We're talking about it really for 2 days here on Locked On Cardinals. For those of you who are avid YouTube watchers, yesterday the Wi-Fi at my apartment went out, so apologies for that. So I was unable to get a good enough connection to get on YouTube. However, we were on your favorite podcasting platform yesterday. That was a lot about Nolan Arenado, the steal of the deal that it was, financially speaking, and we finished up with talking about some managers and whether or not they should be wearing full uniforms and numbers. So today we're going to continue that conversation about Nolan Arenado, the deal that was, talk about who the Cardinals gave up, kind of highlighting them a little bit more in segment 2 and segment 3. Talk about a Cardinals acquisition that they made, signing some starting pitching depth out of the KBO a little bit earlier. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But we're going to start again with the 1 year anniversary of Nolan Arenado. I want to know, because again, this is my first time on YouTube this week. So to say this again, I want to know how you felt a year ago today on YouTube now. So comment on the video. Let me know how you felt. What were your reactions when Nolan Arenado was first reported to be coming to the St. Louis Cardinals? I talked yesterday about before it was reported, when it was just reported that the talks were starting, the 28th, I believe, Ken Rosenthal wrote a story, and how I kind of just shrugged it off as, yep, here we go again, we're just talking, versus how I felt whenever, the reaction whenever the deal was reported, and then now when the deal was made official a year ago today. So I want to know your thoughts as well on the YouTube verse out there. So be sure to drop a comment on the YouTube video. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do hit the bell to be notified when my videos go live for Locked On Cardinals. So I just want to know your thoughts, because I talked about it yesterday, but this is a move that really altered the franchise and for the better. It elongated the winning championship window, and it made the winning and the possibility of winning that much higher, in my opinion. Because Nolan Arenado, I don't think there's a team out there that you put Nolan Arenado on that makes them worse. Especially if the DH comes into effect, then you just stick him as the DH and you go from there. But this deal was one that the Cardinals, again, just kind of recap my thoughts yesterday, this front office pulled off an absolute steal. It's a deal that even to this day, I'm sure a lot of Rockies fans are scratching their head thinking, how did our front office let Nolan Arenado go for what they did? And again, I said this yesterday, but I'm just going to say it again. That's all due respect to the players that I'll talk about today. But at the end of the day, the return was not as great for the Rockies. And they got some decent return pieces even. But again, Nolan Arenado just made this team so much better. And it was just a great fit from the get-go. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I want to hit on it a little bit more today. Even, just the intangibles of it. Guy who goes out there, plays the game the right way. Guy who goes out there, plays it hard. He can do a lot of things in the baseball field, hit and play defense, does it all. And just does it with a good attitude. He's a proven winner. He's a grinder. He is somebody that just gets the job done, seemingly more times than not. Obviously, he did not hit above 500, so necessarily didn't get the job more times than not. But defensively, he got the job way more times than not. done and made some plays that no other third baseman in major leagues can make, or at least very few number of third basemen can make in the league. Because that's what Nolan Arenado, or being on a winning team, because that's what Nolan Arenado was able to accomplish. He was able to be a part of a winning team here in St. Louis, and at minimum, right, a winning franchise, and something that he has helped a winning team since then, because he was able to help the team win a good amount of games and make the postseason. But again, just somebody that fit from the get-go. And it was hard to see some of the players go, such as Austin Gomber was one of the players that left. But again, just to kind of finish up the recap, if you will, on the Nolan Arenado trade and my thoughts, recap my thoughts from yesterday, I guess is what I should say. Is it was just another example of this front office pulling off a deal that just simply made the team better, without a doubt, right? And was able to do that without giving up the farm. They didn't give up a Liberatore, they didn't give up a Gorman, didn't give up a Herrera. It was quite remarkable. I mean, the highest they give up, at least according to the 2019 rankings, a top 5 prospect in the Cardinals system, but it wasn't a top 100, wasn't a top 50 prospect in terms of the entire prospect list, across Major League Baseball, according to MLB.com at the time of 2019. And we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Just a move that simply made sense. So let me know your thoughts. A little bit of a shorter segment one, just kind of recapping my thoughts from yesterday. If you missed the show, be sure to tune into it for my full thoughts on it, about the Nolan Arenado side specifically, especially in the first segment of yesterday's show. So segment number 2 is going to be kind of looking at who the Cardinals gave up, and what they're doing now, how they're doing, for lack of a better phrase, because a couple of them did have decent years and have some upside to it, but at the end of the day, there is one minute way, and before you yell at me, there's one minute way that that you could argue that the Cardinals won or did not win this trade. I'll talk about that in segment number 2. I don't agree with it, but there is, again, one tiny minuscule way when you can say, "Oop, they gave up. They shouldn't have given up this piece," but that reasoning is with the benefit of hindsight and the benefit of retrospect and being able to look back and say, "Oh, we probably could have used this piece." But again, that is minute. It is small, but it's still worth talking about. But the players that the Cardinals gave up, in case you forgot, you didn't listen to yesterday's show, whatever it was Mateo Gil, Tony Losi, excuse me, Elohirius Montero, Jake Summers. Those are all minor league players, and Austin Gomber, who was the only player, with major league time at the time of the trade, and he ended up being a full-time, when he was healthy, a full-time starter in 2021 for the Colorado Rockies. Not an easy place to pitch out there in Colorado. So talk about all those names coming up in just a little bit, but one more time, fully recap my thoughts. And if you want my full thoughts on this aspect of the trade, because today's a little bit more about what the Cardinals gave up, but if you want my thoughts on the Nolan Arenado aspect and what he brought to the table, that's on yesterday's show. But it really comes down to Nolan Arenado simply being a great fit in St. Louis, and the Cardinals seemingly pulling off the impossible by getting him for what they did. So talking about those names coming up here in just a moment. So I know it's February 1st, but I still want to encourage you all to stick to your New Year's resolutions, especially if that New Year's resolution was eating healthy or working out, because I have a solution for both of those options, and it's a Built Bar. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes exactly like a candy bar. I would even argue it tastes a little bit better than most candy bars. Their Built Bars are covered 100% in chocolate. That's right, 100% real chocolate. And most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that's got 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs with no protein or really any other health benefit. So be sure to grab a Built Bar anytime you even just want to substitute it for a workout, because that's how healthy these Built Bars are. And there's so many flavors to choose from. whether it's coconut almond, raspberry, cookies and cream, double chocolate, which is my favorite, and many more. Check them out at built.com. And Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So check out built.com often to see what is new. And go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 right now, LOCKED15 for 15% off your order. Once again, promo code LOCKED15 gets you 15% off at built.com. This episode is also brought to you in part by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's almost impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. You've got to wait while the person behind the counter checks their specific database and they ask you intimidating questions. It's just too much. You have access to rockauto.com at home or on the go at your smartphone device. So save time and money when using Rock Auto. Don't spend up to 100% more for the same parts. For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump is $353 for the chain store. That's $216 from Rock Auto. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer, and they're a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. And also be sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Visit rockauto.com to see all the parts available for your car or truck. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. They're at rockauto.com. So Nolan Arenado, there's a slight argument, right, there is an argument, I should say, that he had a down year. I mixed up my thoughts there for a moment. That he had a down year. There were a lot of career lows in offensive categories. The average was down, the OPS was down, the slugging was down, the on-base percentage was down. Home runs were just a little down as well, 34 home runs, runs driven in low. But again, that's, RBI is more of a process or a statistic saying how many opportunities you had, and those sometimes can't be controlled. OPS plus was just a tick down at 121. So there is an argument there. But at the end of the day, the defense plus the offensive complete package and the intangible fit of Nolan Arenado is what won this trade, in my opinion, for the St. Louis Cardinals, because just what he brings to the table can't always be looked at a baseball reference page or at the back of the baseball card. It's the intangible. That's something that you and I saw almost every day for 155 games, 153 when he played at third base. Watching Cardinal baseball, the impact that he made, the plays that he would make that no other third baseman would make, let alone ones that the Cardinals have in their system. All due respect to those players, but you're not going to find Nolan Arenado's just growing on trees. Which is why it's so bizarre that, yes, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players to get him from Colorado. It wasn't an easy haul. It wasn't. It was difficult because it is 5 players, but it's not like you're giving up 3 of your top 5 or 2 of your top 5. Very rarely do you get a player of Nolan Arenado's magnitude and don't overpay for him. The Cardinals didn't pay for him last year, financially speaking, at all, and did not overpay for him in terms of personnel. Because the players that they gave up hadn't made an impact yet, other than Austin Gomber at the major league level. For example, Mateo Gil started playing rookie ball for the St. Louis Cardinals organization in 2018. Never really put it together across 3 seasons at the minor leagues. 253 batting average, 384 slugging, 17 home runs across 192 games. Plays short, third, and second base overall. Never really had a breakout year. His best year, arguably, was part of 2019 when he hit 270, hit 7 home runs across 51 games for Johnson City rookie ball for the St. Louis Cardinals at that time, rookie ball affiliation. Hasn't even had that great of success at the winter ball that he's played. So Mateo Gil, you're not losing sleep over having to trade him for Nolan Arenado. Tony Loci, or Loki, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce that name. Locey. I'm going to go with Tony Loci for the rest of the way. He was drafted. He was a third-round draft pick of the St. Louis Cardinals from the University of Georgia. Had a decent season. There are 2 decent seasons in Georgia. A decent summer in 2017, according to BaseballReference.com. But with the Cardinals in 2019, with Peoria, in 10 games, he had a 6 ERA, Gave up a home run, gave up 12 runs total, 15 hits across 15 innings. And then even for the Rockies, he had a decent year. 25 games, 10 starts at the A affiliate in Fresno for the Rockies. He was 3-0, had a 3.34 ERA, so it's a decent year. 64 innings pitched. Again, 10 starts, 27 overall appearances. But once again, not somebody you're losing sleep over, even though it was an arm. Jake Summers, a reliever, drafted out of the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. His only year with the Cardinals, he played in 12 games. 10 of those were starts. 4.18 ERA across rookie ball in 2019. At high A ball this most recent year for Colorado, 25 games. None of those were starts. He had a 5.59 ERA, had a 1.65 whip, so that's not good, giving up 10 hits for every 9 innings. So those three players, and again, all due respect, I'm not trying to completely disrespect them or anything, but those three players really amount to not a whole lot in terms of what you gave up. You're really, in my opinion, really okay with giving up those three players in any package for Nolan Arenado. The two quote-unquote big names that the Cardinals, again, quote-unquote, lost in this transaction that might come back to hurt you are Austin Gomber and Elehuris Montero. Montero was, according to MLB.com, the Cardinals' fifth best prospect in 2019. He had a decent years overall. He was, at that time in 2019, he was fifth, behind guys Dakota Hudson, Andrew Kisner, Nolan Gorman, and Alex Reyes. Those were the top five in 2019. And even when you move on to 2020, you look at the top three, Montero isn't even on there in 2020. Again, according to MLB.com, is not a top 30 prospect in 2020, but in 2019, he was top five. And he had a decent season for Colorado. At their Double-A, across 92 games in Hartford, he hit 279, a 362 on base, 523 slugging. That's 22 home runs across those 92 games. 28 games at Triple-A Albuquerque, 278, once again, right there, 278, 279. Slugged 546, had an on base of 355, hit 6 more home runs. So across two levels, Double-A and Triple-A, 120 overall games, 500 plate appearances. He did hit 28 home runs, had 20 doubles, hit 278, slugged 529, an OPS of 889. So Montero it's not even arguably, he had the best year, even, and this is going to include Austin Gomber, who I'll get to in a moment. He had the best year out of anybody the Cardinals gave up. He started playing professional ball for the St. Louis Cardinals at the age of 16 in 2015. Again, never had a huge breakout year. 2018, he did hit above 300, but then 2019, he was back down below 200. Fall League, he didn't do so hot in 2019. So somebody that still, even though he did hit 28 home runs in 2021, in the Winter League that he's playing in right now, 221 the batting average across 38 games, and just 2 home runs, and he's slugging 307, OPS of 605. So still, the results are TBD even on him, clearly. But he is the one minor leaguer that the Cardinals might say, oop, that was tough. The reason I said before the last segment that there's a minute argument as to the Cardinals losing this trade. And again, I don't even think it's close, but just a thought that came into my head when I was writing this. Austin Gomber had a 4.44 ERA in 2018, 29 games, 11 of those starts. Didn't appear at the major league level in 2019. And 29 innings for the St. Louis Cardinals in 2020. That's 4 starts, 14 overall appearances. He had a 1.86 ERA. Gave up just 19 hits across those 29 innings. Just 1 home run. Struck out 27, so not a lot of strikeouts. He did walk his fair amount, as pretty much any Cardinal did in 2020. But an ERA plus of 2.27, minute sample size, I get that. But he was effective for this Cardinal team in 2020. He was. I was always an Austin Gomber fan, was rooting for him. In 2021, things didn't go his way. Wasn't always healthy. 23 starts, 9-9 on the year, 4.53 ERA, 115 and a third innings pitched. His ERA plus was above average. It was 105. Struck out 113. His walks per nine were the lowest of any season in his career. Give up a few more home runs, but that's expected in Coors. But his whip was still respectable at 1.2. So I'm not saying that losing Austin Gomber is the worst thing that's ever happened to the Cardinals. But food for thought and an interesting discussion topic when you're looking back at this trade, Austin Gomber would have been nice. There's no denying this fact. He would have been nice with all the injuries the Cardinals dealt with in 2021, especially from the pitching standpoint. He could have been a calming presence. And again, who don't know? Who knows? Maybe he would have fallen into the trap of walking everybody like Daniel Ponce de Leon and John Gant. Okay, I get that. That is a very real possibility. But also, it's an arm to have that Cardinals otherwise didn't. Now, again, that is the minute argument that you would have liked to have Austin Gomber for pitching depth in 2021, and it hurt that you didn't. Again, it probably would have hurt you more to have Matt Carpenter at third base instead of Nolan Arenado and still have Austin Gomber and all these minor league players, because I don't foresee any of these minor league players developing into any huge stars. Montero, again, had a really nice 2021. He's the only one that you might think later, ooh, but at the same time, look at what the Cardinals got. Nolan Arenado. So I spend all this time talking about who the Cardinals gave up and what they're doing now and how they did, just to show you, still, 1 year later, it's still an absolute win that the Cardinals traded for Nolan Arenado. And quite frankly, I don't foresee it going any other way. You know, the Randy Arozarena trade that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, you know, that was one at the time that was, we'll see. A year later, huge win for the Rays. Oh, what a fleece. You got Randy Arozarena, the best postseason hitter of all time for a year. Oh, what a steal by the Rays. You fast forward another year, and now you're thinking. Because, yeah, Randy had a really nice year, but you look at the ability to bring in Harrison Bader as your full-time center fielder, and if Matthew Liberatore is able to progress nicely, you got Jose Martinez off your roster, occupying spaces in the outfield and at first base. So it's different year to year. This Nolan Arenado trade, even if by some wacky circumstance or happenstance, Nolan Arenado opts out after this season, and I don't think it's going to happen because there was an extra opt-out, there's just no way for me to that would, for example, if he opted out, that would be the only way that I would start to doubt whether or not this was a win. The only way. But again, you look at the players that they gave up, wasn't a whole lot, wasn't anything that jumps off the page at you. I had to dig pretty deep to see, what those players did. It's not like any of them stole headlines in 2021. And you think of the fact that the Cardinals got Nolan Arenado for a year for free. So even if they pay $35 million this season for Nolan Arenado, which is what he's owed, and then he opts out, you got Nolan Arenado for 2 years and you paid for him for 1. There are very few, and again, this could come back to bite me because wilder things have happened, but knock on wood, there are very few things that will happen in the future, in my opinion, that will cause us, as Cardinal follower or Cardinal fan, that will cause anybody to say, yep, Cardinals lost that trade. They shouldn't have traded for Nolan Arenado. Even a year later, the outlook on this trade remains the same, almost as it did the day of the trade, which is extremely rare. It's a move that will, I think, go down in history, or at least in the years to come, for many years to come, it will go down as a move that the Cardinals won, no doubt about it. So let me know what you think about it in the comments section. 1 official year of Nolan Arenado. Had the discussion over the course of the last 2 days. Yesterday was a little bit more on the Nolan Arenado side, and the started the trade discussions about who they gave up and how that was a good steal. And then today, finishing up that second point as well as summarizing the first point. So super fun. I enjoyed talking about it. I hope you enjoyed listening to it or watching it on YouTube. Again, if you're on YouTube, drop a comment to your reaction, your thoughts on the Nolan Arenado trade It's officially now 1 year later, February 1st. But we're not done yet today. We're still going to talk about a move that the Cardinals made. It's the lockout, but hey, we have a move to discuss on this Tuesday, and it's Aaron Brooks' minor league invite to spring training. Talk about that move in just a moment. But first, there might be less football being played, but betonline.net has way more odds and info for this playoff season. From scores, totals, player performance props, to whether the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the number one spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. And it's not just football. BetOnline.net's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline remains your number one online wagering destination. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline is where the game starts. Cardinals announcing on Twitter that they have made a move. And again, it feels weird to even talk about a move happening in the middle of a lockout, but they shared it yesterday that they signed Aaron Brooks to a minor league contract with a non-roster invite to spring training. Across 2 seasons for the Kia Tigers and the KBO, Korean Baseball Organization, you went 14-9 with a 2.79 ERA, 185 strikeouts, and 36 total starts. So I'm going to start with the positives here, in that Brooks, at minimum, provides depth. 31 years old, been around the block a little bit, probably a little bit more, definitely a little bit more mileage. And when you look at his Major League Baseball stats, you won't believe this statement, but a little bit more of a proven asset. Miles Michaelis came over from overseas after having pretty bad years in the major leagues and turned his career around, turning it into a lucrative contract for him. I am not saying Aaron Brooks is going to do the same thing. I think Brooks was definitely signed as more of a not an insurance piece, but more depth for the Cardinals to have with an option to make the major league roster. And again, his major league totals, not good. 4 seasons, 9-13, a 6.49 career ERA across 170 innings, ERA plus of 67. His highest ERA plus was 81 for Oakland and Baltimore. Spent time in Oakland, Baltimore, and Kansas City across his major league career from 2014 to 2019. Mainly a starter, but a couple of relief appearances in there as well for Brooks. But he was mainly a starter for the Tigers and the KBO. So he provides a little bit of starting pitching depth. And in 2020, he averaged 6.57 innings pitched per start in 2020. So just under 6 2/3 overall. And last year in 2021, he averaged 6 innings pitched. Again, that's according to the KBO website. 3-5 this most recent year, 13 games started, 78 innings pitched. The year prior to that, he had a 2.5 ERA, 151 and a third innings pitched. So he did drop off just a little bit, but 229 and a third innings over at the KBO, struck out 185 batters, only walked 40. 14-9, as I mentioned, in a whip of 1.15. So that's pretty respectable if you take the average there. So Brooks, I think, will provide just a little bit of depth and another option for the Cardinals to consider moving forward in 2022 as they look at their pitching options. Maybe if they're not able to land a Joe Kelly or Ryan Tepera or any bullpen help, Aaron Brooks could possibly serve as the bullpen help that the Cardinals are looking for. However, there was a report on MLB trade rumors that the Cardinals will be looking to sign some impact arms when this lockout is over. And that is still wildly, and I mean wildly, up in the air as to when that will be. But we will roll on here on Locked On Cardinals. We're looking to have Ethan Smith of Locked On Pirates on the show at some point this week, either Wednesday or Thursday, so be sure to tune back for that. And if you guys have anything you want answered, you can always email the show at lockedoncards@gmail.com. Drop a question in the YouTube comment section. DM me on Twitter at LJFastball. DM the show on Twitter or Instagram at LO_Cardinals. And we'll get your questions answered, maybe even make a whole segment out of it as well. But until I talk to you guys again, be sure to stay safe, stay well, and have a fantastic rest of your day.